The Soul Belt Research Station floated in the dark space beyond the last known planet. It was a small station, built mainly for long-range scans and quiet study. Few people wanted to live so far from the busy worlds, but for Mara, the isolation was peaceful. She liked the sound of the constant hum of the station's systems. She liked the endless view of stars through the observation dome. Here she could think without the rush of city noise. On a calm day, Mara sat in front of her console, checking the deep space scans as she always did. The readings were usually quiet, a background of cosmic waves and distant light, but this time, her screen lit up with a repeating pulse. At first, she thought it was just another interference pattern from the outer comets. She tapped a few keys to clear the noise, yet the pulse stayed dotted came every 4 seconds. Each time, it carried the same shape in the wave. Mara leaned closer. It was too exact to be random. She called out to the only other person in the control bay, a quiet older man named Ren. He had been working at the station for decades, and his calm voice often kept the younger crew steady. "Ren, can you look at this?" she asked. He walked over, his eyes moving over the display. The pattern danced on the screen like a small heartbeat in the black. Ren frowned slightly. "That is not natural noise," he said. "The spacing is too clean. This is a signal." Mara felt a small thrill in her chest. Signals meant someone, or something, was sending a message. But from where? She adjusted the coordinates. The source was deep beyond any mapped trade routes. There were no known colonies in that direction, no ships scheduled to pass. Ren sat down at the console beside her. He began running the wave through the station's translation programs. The programs did not find a direct language match, but they detected a strange data structure inside the wave. Ren froze as the results scrolled across the display. This format is old," he said quietly. "Very old. It matches some fragments from the ancient archives on Terra." Mara's brow furrowed. "How old?" Ren looked at her. "Older than our recorded history. At least 12,000 years." Mara laughed softly, though not because it was funny. The oldest known human recordings only went back a few thousand years. Before space travel, anything older than that was supposed to be legend or guesswork. Yet here was a living signal, right in front of them. The station's rules were clear. Any unusual data must be sent to Central for review before deeper study. But Ren did not call Central right away. Instead, he saved the raw signal to a secure file. Then he began to decode it himself. For hours, the two of them worked together. The signal's pulse carried layers, as if each beat held another message inside it. Some layers were simple numbers, like coordinates. Others were strange shapes, like star maps. Mara recognized some of the patterns from basic astronomy, but a few of the star shapes did not match any known chart. It was as if the map showed places outside the galaxy's edge. When the first shift change came, the other crew members drifted into the bay. Mara and Ren shared only the basic fact that they had found an unusual reading. They did not say what they had really discovered. Something about the signal felt fragile, as if speaking too loudly might scare it away. Later, when the others had gone, Mara asked the question that had been forming in her mind all day. "Do you think it is human?" Ren's eyes stayed on the display. "I think whoever sent this new thing's human should not have known at that time." That answer left her both excited and uneasy. Over the next 3 days, the signal kept coming. Always the same timing, always the same data. They traced its direction more carefully. Using the station's long-range dish, it came from a point far beyond any charted system. No one in human space should have been there. On the 4th day, Ren called Mara to the bay at an early hour. The signal had changed. A new layer had appeared in the wave, one that their programs could almost translate. The message was short, just 3 words: "Come and see." The words were in an archaic form of old Earth speech. Mara felt her breath catch. This was not just a beacon left behind by chance. Someone out there had noticed their attention, and now they were answering. The proper step was to alert Central Command. But when they sent the first report, it came back with a strange reply. Central ordered them to stop all independent study and send the full raw data To the Grand Archive on Terra. No reason was given. The tone of the message was firm. Even for Central. Mara felt the decision being taken from them. Ren, however, was not ready to let go. If this goes straight to the archive, he said, we may never know what happens next. That evening, they met in the small dining room of the station. The hum of the air systems filled the silence between them. Ren leaned forward. We could take leave and travel to Terra ourselves. If we bring the data directly, we can see what they do with it. Otherwise, it will disappear into the sealed vaults. Mara hesitated. Leaving the station meant risking their positions, but the thought of letting the mystery vanish into hidden files felt worse. She imagined the maps, the strange stars, the voice saying come and see. Her curiosity pushed harder than her caution. Let's go, she said. They spent the next 2 days making quiet preparations. Officially, they were taking routine leave. Unofficially, Ren had booked them passage on a cargo transport headed for the inner systems. The ship was slow, but it was unmonitored by Central's main travel routes. Before departure, Mara stood in the observation dome one last time. The stars stretched endlessly across the darkness, calm and silent, as if nothing unusual had happened. But she knew better now. Somewhere out there, far beyond human reach, a signal was still calling. It had crossed impossible distances and uncounted years to reach their small station. She wondered what it meant that it had found them. As the cargo transport pulled away from the station, the blue glow of the Soul Belt faded behind them. Ahead lay the long journey to Terra, the Grand Archive, and perhaps an answer to the question that had started with a single repeating pulse in the dark. But neither Mara nor Ren could shake the feeling that they had already stepped into something far greater than themselves, and once begun, such a journey could not be turned aside. The cargo transport drifted silently through the trade lanes between the outer colonies and the inner systems. It was not a fast ship, but for Mara and Ren, it was perfect. The fewer questions the crew asked, the better. Most people aboard were busy with their own work, moving crates and checking manifests. No one cared about to quiet passengers with a small case of data crystals. Mara spent much of the journey in the small passenger lounge, staring out of the narrow window at the stars. The hum of the ship reminded her of the research station, but here the stars moved slowly past, as if the universe itself was carrying them towards something they could not yet see. Ren spent his time reviewing the signal over and over on his personal console. Even though they had already saved it in secure form, he checked every reading, every line of the code. He seemed to be looking for something he had missed before. Sometimes he would stop and stare at the wave pattern in silence, as if trying to hear a voice hidden under the layers. After 9 days of travel, the faint glow of Terra began to appear on the ship's forward view. The blue and green world floated like a jewel among the inner planets, even from this distance. Mara felt a sense of awe. Terra was not just another world. It was the home of humanity, the place where the first records began. Every human, no matter how far they lived in the galaxy, knew its name. The transport docked at one of the high orbital ports. From there, they took a smaller shuttle down through the soft clouds toward the surface. The city below was vast, a blend of bright towers and green gardens that spread for miles. Yet their goal was far from the city center. The Grand Archive stood apart, near the edge of a wide inland sea. Its silver walls rose like a fortress, smooth and unbroken, with only a single entrance at the front. As they approached, Mara noticed there were no open windows, no signs of activity. It looked more like a monument than a working building. Yet, inside those walls was the greatest collection of human knowledge in existence. Not all of it was public. Much of it was sealed, locked away for reasons known only to the Council of Records. The tall gate slid open as they stepped onto the stone path. A pair of quiet attendants in plain silver uniforms greeted them and scanned their entry codes. The attendants asked no questions, but their eyes rested for a moment on Ren's case. Before they led the pair inside, the main hall was wide and filled with a soft golden light. Rows of tall crystal columns lined each side, each one filled with glowing data threads. The air was cool and still, carrying the faint scent of some unknown plant. Mara felt as if she had stepped into a place outside of time. Every sound seemed small here, as if the walls themselves were listening. They were guided to a small round chamber deeper inside the building. In the center stood a circular table with a projection plate. The walls were covered in smooth panels, their surfaces shifting with faint symbols. A single figure waited there. He was an archivist, wearing a simple white robe with a silver emblem on the chest. "I'm Tal," he said in a calm voice. "You have brought a signal from the Soul Belt Station." Rin placed the case on the table. "Yes," he said. "We thought it should be seen here, but I believe it is more than just a signal." Tal opened the case and placed the crystal on the projection plate. The wave pattern appeared in the air above the table, its steady pulse repeating in a slow rhythm. Tal studied it without speaking for a long time. Then he tapped a panel, and the wave unfolded into a star map. Mara's breath caught. Even though she had seen it before, the shape still stirred a strange feeling in her. Some stars matched the maps she knew, but others were in patterns she had never seen. It was like a half-remembered dream, familiar, yet impossible. Tal turned his eyes toward them. "Where exactly did you find this?" Rin gave the coordinates. Tal nodded slowly. "This is old, very old. It matches fragments we keep in the restricted section. Few living humans have seen such patterns." Mara felt the question rise inside her. Who made them? Tal's gaze held steady. That is not a simple answer, and it is not knowledge freely given. Something in his tone told her there was more, far more than he was saying. Rin seemed to sense it too. "We also received a short message," he said. In Old Earth speech, it said, "Come and see," for the first time. Tal's calm face showed a flicker of surprise. He looked at the wave again, then at them. "You should not have this," he said quietly. "The council will take it now." Mara felt a chill at his words. "Why? What danger is there in knowing?" Tal did not answer directly. Instead, he pressed a hand to the table, and the crystal vanished into a hidden compartment. The projection faded. "Some truths are too heavy for all to carry. We keep them until the right time." Rin took a step forward. "And who decides?" "When that time comes," Tal's eyes softened, but his voice stayed steady. "It is not for me to say. Your duty here is finished. The council thanks you for bringing this to us." The attendants returned to guide them out. Mara felt a weight pressing on her as they walked back through the silent hall. The signal they had followed across the stars was now locked away in a place where no one could reach it. She glanced at Rin and saw the same frustration in his eyes. Once they were outside, standing on the quiet path beside the inland sea, Rin spoke in a low voice. "They will bury it. Whatever it means, whatever it shows, it will vanish into the deep vaults." Mara looked at the shining walls of the archive. She thought of the maps and the voice that had crossed time to speak to them. The idea that it would be hidden felt wrong. "Then we have to find out for ourselves," she said. Rin nodded. "There may be copies, fragments, places where the original knowledge still sleeps." The sound of gentle waves reached their ears. The sea was calm, the air warm. Yet Mara felt as if a storm had begun somewhere far away. She knew they were stepping into something greater than either of them could understand. But the choice had already been made when they left the station. There was no turning back. That night, they left the city and found a small transport heading toward the outer reaches of Terra's moon. Their search was not over. The real journey was only beginning. The small transport moved quietly between the dark side of Terra's moon and the scattered outer stations. Mara and Rin sat close together in the dim passenger cabin, speaking only in low voices. Round them, miners and freight workers dozed or read reports on their screens, unaware of the plans forming between the two travelers. After leaving the Grand Archive, Rin had not wasted a moment. He had spent hours searching through public star charts, old travel logs, and fragments of forgotten records stored in private networks. While most of the signal's coordinates had been hidden away by the archivist, Rin had kept a private copy of the original readings. It was not complete, but there were still clues buried in it. Mara leaned closer to see the faint image glowing on his portable console. "That's the map," she said. "Yes," Rin replied. Not the full one, but enough. If I overlay this with the oldest charts I can find, there is one system here that should not exist. He pointed to a faint mark far outside the main travel routes. No registered planets, no known stations, no history of visits. It was simply marked with a string of old numbers. Do you think this is where the signal came from? Mara asked. I think it is a place someone wanted us to forget, Ren said. The transport docked at a supply station above the moon. From there, they chartered a small independent vessel. The owner was a quiet pilot named Galen who did not ask many questions as long as his passengers paid in advance. His ship was old but strong, built for long flights without support, perfect for what they needed. They left the comfort of the inner system behind. The familiar glow of Terra faded into the distance, replaced by the cold sweep of deep space. Days passed in the slow rhythm of the journey. Mara watched the stars shift through the wide forward glass, feeling the weight of the unknown pressing closer. On the 10th day, the sensors began to pick up faint readings. At first, it was just background noise. Then, as they drew nearer, the shapes began to take form. A small yellow sun, a cluster of rocky moons, and one large planet with a soft silver glow. The planet turned slowly below them, its surface wrapped in pale clouds. Beneath the clouds, Mara could see wide seas and dark land masses. No satellite markers, no signs of active communication, no signals of any kind. It was completely quiet. Galen raised an eyebrow at the readings. No traffic, no registry. Are you sure you want to land? Yes, Ren said without hesitation. The descent was smooth. As they broke through the cloud layer, the landscape came into view. Towering cliffs rose from the edges of green plains. Rivers wound like silver threads through valleys. In the distance, Mara saw vast black structures rising from the ground, their sides smooth and unbroken. They looked nothing like human buildings. They looked as if they had been shaped in a single piece, without seams or tools. Galen set the ship down on a wide stretch of flat stone near the edge of one of the black towers. The air outside was warm, carrying a faint scent of something metallic. Gravity was close to that of Terra, and the sky above was a clear, pale blue. As Mara stepped out onto the stone, she felt a strange vibration under her boots. It was faint, almost like the hum of the research station, but deeper and steadier. The tower beside them rose far above the clouds. Its surface was covered in carvings, yet the carvings were worn in such a way that they almost seemed to shift. When she looked at them from different angles, Ren ran his hand along the surface. This stone is not weathered the way it should be. If this place is as old as it seems, time should have left more marks. They walked slowly toward the base of the tower. A wide archway stood open, leading into a dark interior. No doors, no signs of recent use, yet no dust on the floor. The moment they stepped inside, the faint hum in the air grew stronger. Light appeared without any visible source. The walls glowed softly, revealing long halls lined with more carvings. Many of the images showed human-shaped tall figures with calm faces, standing among unfamiliar stars. In some carvings, the figures held small spheres that shone with light. In others, they were surrounded by flowing lines that might have been rivers or perhaps streams of energy. Mara paused before one of the largest carvings. It showed a group of these human figures standing beside a ship unlike any she had seen. The ship was long and sleek, with no engines or wings. Above them, in the carving's sky, was the same strange star pattern she had seen in the signal's map. This is US, she whispered. Or it was us. Ren studied the carving. If this is true, then humans were here long before our history begins. They followed the hall deeper into the structure. It opened into a vast chamber with a high ceiling and a floor made of the same smooth black stone. In the center stood a raised platform. As they stepped closer, the platform lit up, and a soft sound filled the air. It was not a voice at first, just a tone that seemed to move through the space. Then the tone shaped itself into words. Welcome, returning children. The voice was calm, warm, and carried no sign of surprise. It spoke in a dialect of old Earth speech that both Mara and Rin could understand with only slight effort. Mara and Rin exchanged a long glance. Rin stepped forward. "Show us what happens if we take it." "Not in words. Show us." The being raised its hand. The chamber filled with light, and suddenly the walls were gone. They stood in a vast star field. The towers and plains replaced by open space round them. Ships of strange design moved silently between worlds. Some were sleek and silver, others vast and layered like floating cities. They saw people walking through glowing gates that linked one place to another in an instant. Cities rose on planets with skies of green, purple, and gold. There was laughter, music, and the quiet rhythm of work being done together. "This," the being said, "is what your kind once knew. The sea can open the path to this again, in your time." Ships crawl through the dark, taking months or years to cross the void. With the seed, the old gates can be rebuilt. The stars can be neighbors again. The light shifted. Now the visions changed. Crowds gathered on streets. Voices raised in fear and anger. Ships armed for defense patrolled the skies. Rin saw disputes over planets, borders drawn where once there had been free travel. He saw leaders arguing in tall halls, each claiming the right to control the new knowledge. And in some places, he saw silent, empty cities abandoned after something unseen had gone wrong. "This too is the truth," the being said. "The sea will not only bring unity, it will test your kind. Some will see it as a gift. Others will see it as a tool. And there are those who will seek to claim it for themselves." The vision faded, and they stood once more in the chamber. The sphere still floated in the air between them. Rin's voice was quiet. "So no matter what, it changes everything." "Yes," the being replied. "There is no path that leaves all as it is." Mara stepped closer to the sphere. "If we take it and keep it hidden, waiting for the right time, what then?" "Then you will carry a fire in your hands," the being said. "Hidden fire can warm when the cold comes, but it can also burn if held too long." Mara thought about that. It was a risk either way. If they left the seed, the world might never be ready. If they took it, they might be blamed for what followed. Yet deep inside, she felt the same pull she had felt when she first saw the signals. Pattern on her station screened the pull to follow where it led, no matter the risk. She looked at Rin. "I want to take it, not to spread it now, but to make sure it's not lost forever." Rin studied her for a long moment. His eyes showed the same conflict she felt. Then he nodded. "If we take it, we take it together." The being raised both hands, and the sphere drifted toward them. Its glow brightened as it neared, until they had to lift their hands to shield their eyes. When it touched them, the light sank into their palms, leaving no mark but a faint warmth that spread through their arms and into their chests. "The seed is now bound to you," the being said. "You may call upon it when you wish. It will show you the way to the old places and the tools to rebuild, but it will not guide your choices. Those belong to you." Mara flexed her fingers. The warmth was steady now, like a small sun resting inside her. She could sense, without seeing, that the map was there in her mind, waiting. Rin glanced round the chamber. "Will anyone else know we have it?" "No," the being replied. "Not unless you choose to reveal it. The signal that brought you here will fade. Another will not be sent until you decide." Mara felt the weight of that trust settle on her. "And you? Will you still be here?" The being's light dimmed slightly. "I will remain, as I have for all the ages since the forgetting. But my purpose is fulfilled when the seed is carried again." They left the chamber slowly, passing once more through the long hall of carvings. This time, the images seemed different. To Mara, she saw them not as distant stories, but as fragments of a history she now carried within her. Outside, the sky was bright with morning. The silver sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the plain. Galen, the pilot, was waiting near the ship. He said nothing about their time in the tower, but Mara noticed his eyes flicker toward them, as if sensing they had changed. They boarded, and the vessel rose from the stone platform as the planet fell away beneath them. Mara pressed her hand against the glass, watching the black towers shrink into the clouds. She knew the path ahead would not be simple, but somewhere inside, a quiet certainty had taken root. Humanity's story was far from finished. And now she held a chapter no one else remembered. Ren sat beside her, silent. But she saw the same light in his eyes. The seed was theirs, for better or worse. The choice of when to use it was yet to come. The small ship cut through the quiet darkness of space, heading back toward the inner systems of Terra. Mara sat near the window, her hand still glowing faintly, where the seed of knowledge had settled inside her. The soft light was like a promise, a secret kept close to her heart. Yet beneath the calm, a storm of questions brewed. Ren sat across from her, watching the stars pass by, his expression unreadable. The long silence between them was heavy, filled with unspoken thoughts. Finally, Mara broke the quiet. What do you think we should do next? Ren looked up slowly. We have the seed. We have the choice. But choosing what comes next is harder than I thought. Mara nodded. The being warned us. Using this knowledge changes everything, but leaving it hidden feels like we are keeping a part of ourselves asleep. Ren rubbed his chin thoughtfully. If we reveal it now, there could be chaos. Governments might fight over it. People might fear what they don't understand, or worse, they could misuse it. Mara sighed deeply. But if we hide it, we deny our people a chance to grow. Maybe the risk is part of the reward. Ren's eyes met hers. Do you think our people are ready? Not just the leaders, but the everyday person? Mara looked out the window, watching the distant stars flicker. I don't know, but I think the ones who are ready are the ones who seek. Like us, they spoke for hours. Weighing the options, they could return to the Grand Archive and share what they had found, or they could keep the seed safe, waiting for a time when humanity was stronger, wiser. Ren finally said, maybe it is not our place to decide for everyone. Mara nodded slowly. We should be careful, but we also cannot wait forever. As the ship neared the inner systems, Mara reached out and touched the faint light still resting in her palm. It pulsed gently, as if sensing her doubts. She felt a strange connection to it, like the beginning of a long journey. Landing back on Terra was both familiar and strange, the city's bustle with life. Unaware that two of their own carried the future in their hands, Mara and Ren moved through the crowds with quiet purpose, speaking to only a few trusted friends. They found a safe place deep inside the research station. There, they began to study the seed more closely. The light inside them seemed to grow, opening pathways in their minds to memories and knowledge long forgotten. But as the days passed, the weight of secrecy grew heavier. Mara saw the strain on Ren's face. The silence between them stretched longer. One evening, Mara confronted him. We cannot carry this alone. We need to trust others. Ren shook his head. Trust is a luxury we cannot afford. Not yet. Mara's voice was firm. If we don't share this, someone else will find it someday, and then we will lose control. Completely. Ren's eyes softened. I only want to protect what is precious. But maybe you are right. They agreed to reach out to a small circle of scholars, people known for wisdom and integrity. One by one, they shared the secret, watching carefully how each person responded. Some were filled with wonder, others with fear. One elder whispered, this knowledge is a gift and a test. We must prepare our people, teach them the meaning behind it. Mara felt hope stir. If they could guide humanity gently, the seed might grow into something strong. But not all were so cautious. One council member argued, this power belongs to all. We cannot hide it. The world must know. Tensions rose within their circle. Mara feared the same conflicts the being had warned about were already beginning. One night, she found Ren staring out over the city lights, silent and tense. What if we made a mistake by bringing this back? She asked. Ren turned to her, his face tired. There is no perfect choice, only the choice we make. Mara reached out, taking his hand. Then we must be ready for what comes next, together. The seed inside them glowed softly, a reminder that the future was now theirs to shape. The choice was not just about knowledge, but about trust, courage, and hope. As they prepared to face whatever challenges awaited, Mara knew one thing for certain. Humanity's true story was only beginning. The months that followed were a time of quiet but steady change. Mara and Rin worked carefully with the small circle of scholars they had trusted. They shared pieces of the seed's knowledge, teaching not just the facts but the meaning behind them. It was not an easy task. Many people struggled to understand the depth of what had been lost, and the power they now held in their hands. Some days were filled with hope, others brought doubt and fear. Yet through it all, Mara felt a growing strength in the hearts of those who listened. The knowledge was not a weapon, but a key to open doors that had been closed for thousands of years. One evening, Mara stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The sun was setting, casting long shadows and painting the sky with colors she had never seen before. She thought about how far they had come from the silent tower on the distant world to this moment, where the future seemed both uncertain and full of promise. Rin joined her quietly. The world is changing. People are asking questions they never asked before. Mara nodded. They want to know who they really are, not just where they live or what they do, but where they came from. Rin smiled softly. Maybe that is the greatest gift we can give them. The scholars have begun to rebuild parts of the old technology, guided by the seed's memories. Ships once again took shape in the dry docks of the spaceport's gates. Though still small and untested, began to blink to life with faint pulses of energy. The past and the future were merging, but not everyone was ready. Some feared the changes. There were protests and heated debates. Leaders who once ignored the stars now spoke of control and caution. The seed had awakened not only hope but old fears as well. Mara met with the council that had once rejected her ideas. She spoke with quiet strength. This knowledge is not a weapon to be feared. It is a path forward. We must choose to walk it together. With open hearts and clear minds, some council members listened. Others remained silent or shook their heads. Change was never easy, but Mara believed it was necessary. One night, while walking through the quiet halls of the research station, Mara found a message waiting for her. It was from the being of light, the one who had guided them to the seed. The message was simple but clear. You have chosen well. The path will be difficult, but your kind is ready. Remember, the greatest strength lies not in the knowledge you carry, but in the unity you build. Mara felt warmth spread through her chest as she read the words. It was a reminder that the future was not a gift to be claimed alone, but a promise to be shared. As the years passed, the gates grew stronger and ships flew farther. Humans reached worlds that had once been only dreams. They met others beyond the stars, some friendly, some cautious. The stories of old united them, giving them hope and strength. Mara and Rin continued to guide the way, always mindful of the balance between discovery and caution. They knew that the seed was more than knowledge, it was a responsibility. One day, Mara stood at the edge of a new gate, watching as a ship prepared to step through. The sky was bright with the light of a new dawn. She felt the pulse of the seed within her. Steady and strong, Rin came beside her, smiling. This is just the beginning. Mara looked ahead. To the stars beyond the gate, the future is ours. To write, together, they stepped forward, carrying the true story of humanity, one of courage, hope, and endless possibility. The past had been forgotten for a time, but now it was remembered, and humanity was ready to rise.